I'm Diane Hall with AARP Missouri, and I'd like to welcome you to Yoga with Tyler. This is the fourth in our series, and we'll run through November 17th. I believe that we are halfway through, and I'm sorry, somebody needs to please put themselves on mute and stop talking. Yoga series is part of AARP Missouri's Moving It Fitness series, and if this is your first time joining us, don't worry, you'll easily be able to follow as Tyler gives great moves and instructions and cues so that you'll know exactly what to do. The class is suitable for many levels of fitness. However, you know your own limitations. Please do not try to go beyond what you know is right for you. If you have any concerns, check with your doctor before participating in this or any other AARP fitness offering. AARP Missouri offers other live fitness classes, Bar, Rumba, and Forever Fit. And we have links to past programs like Zumba Light or Movement for Life that you can participate in from the recording. You can find the links to current, past, or upcoming programs at aarp.org/movingit. All of our programming is created with people age 50 plus in mind, but good for anybody of any age, anywhere. AARP hopes that our fitness classes like yoga will be great options for anybody who might not be able or maybe a little hesitant to attend a traditional fitness class, like someone who's a caregiver or who may have some health reasons or limitations, or just for the convenience of working out at home. In addition to our online fitness classes, AARP has resources for caregivers, up-to-date COVID-19 information, and technology information on our website, aarp.org/nearyou. So let's get started with yoga. Our instructor is Tyler Ferguson. Tyler, take us away.
Welcome to our fourth class in exploring yoga through contemplating our energetic centers. We spent the previous 3 weeks working on our root, sacral, and solar plexus energetic center. And now we move to our fourth center, or our heart center, our heart space. The center is located right in the middle of, obviously, our rib cage, our scapula, anything to do with our arms, the breasts, and then our thymus gland. Our thymus gland is located here, and this is where we make our T cells, which supports our immune system. And then when we think about how we respond emotionally in this area, these first three areas, it was about me. I am grounded, I am rooted, I have my basic needs met in that root energetic chakra. In the sacral chakra, it was about your emotions. Coming up to this heart chakra, it's about the we. It's about how you interact with others, or more so, your love for self, and then love for other people, peace, compassion, that kind of energetic center. And the cool thing about this is, posturally, you can sometimes see when people have a guarded heart, right? The shoulders round and the chest caves in, and they're guarding this heart space. So we're going to bring this heart space open in this practice today. Before we come to the ground, if you're seated, I just wanted to play around with a hand, your elbows into your body, and bring your palms together. And then make sure each finger is lined up with the other finger, and take a moment to press and feel each finger, and feel the base of the hand, particularly right above the wrist, and then feel the energy as you press into that. And then shift the weight, or the awareness, into the thumb, into the pinky, and start to peel away the middle three fingers. We have our little lotus flower there. Continue to breathe, relax the shoulders out of the ears. Now take your forearms and push your forearms together as you bring your lotus flower up. And then notice how the activation of bringing the elbows, the forearms together might help create space in your back body. There's some work here. Hand mudras are said to change the energy, how it flows in the body. So notice if your energy is flowing differently now. Continue to breathe. One more breath here. Draw the elbows back into the body. Let the arms separate. And close the hands back together into your prayer shape. So the benefits of mudras Not only do they maybe change the energy flow of the system, but sometimes it can give us an opportunity to really stretch and feel some sensation in the hands and the fingers. We're going to begin our breathing exercise laying down today, and I'm going to take a moment to set this up. If you have a blanket handy, go ahead and grab it, and you want to roll it up like in a Tootsie Roll. So kind of get it round here. And then you're going to take your Tootsie Roll and place it sort of at the base of your spine. And the thing here is it takes some time to find this. So if you're spending too much time finding it and it's bumming you out, get rid of it. It's not that important. But what I hope to accomplish is once your Tootsie Roll is there, when you lower down, notice how this roll starts to open up your rib cage in your chest. Now you'll notice I have a pillow for my head here. So I have another blanket or I have a block that I can bring in for my head. If my head touches the floor, I'm going to be super exposed in the neck here. So I'm going to raise the head. I'm going to give you a moment to see if this chest opening works for you. Your knees could be bent and your feet on the ground. You could walk the feet wide and let the knees fall in together. And if this just isn't working for you, go ahead and pull it out and just come to your back, and we'll have pranayama from the back today, or breathing from the back today. You should be able to breathe completely without pain with this prop under you. And we can talk after class how to fix it if it doesn't work for you. Close your eyes and then start to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose as much as that's doable for you. We've spent the first 3 energetic centers working from a seated position. So notice what it feels like to breathe from this position, in through the nose, feeling the belly expand, the lungs fill up on the inhale. And the belly button moves back to the spine as you exhale out. I exhaled through the mouth there. Sorry about that. If you need to exhale through the mouth, that's fine, but trying to keep it inhaling and exhaling through the nose. That'll help build up some internal heat. And if this prop starts to get sore for you, it's a little too intense, particularly if it's down in your low back too far. I may have cued that too far into your low back. Simply just roll over to the side and pull the prop out and then go back to your back. We'll unpack that later. Continuing to breathe, notice if on your inhale you can feel your rib cages expand to the sides, possibly. Or maybe notice what it feels like to breathe your back ribs into this mat. And take a moment to notice how open you feel in this posture, in this pose. Take one more round of breath, and on your exhale, open up your eyes, blink your eyes open. Now to remove this, please roll over to your side rather than trying to sit or hike up. Just, oops, sorry about my mic. Roll over to your side. And then just get that blanket out of there, get it out of the way, and come back to your back. Stay on your back. We're going to begin the practice from our back today. So your feet are bent, your knees are bent, feet are flat on the floor. You can have your head on a slightly elevated surface if that feels better to you. Let's take our right knee and bring it into the chest for single wind relieving pose. As the right knee comes in, you can bind on the shin, or if you need more space, you can bind on the hamstring. Relax the shoulders and keep that openness in the chest that we had with the prop under us. Try to keep that openness and find some ankle circles. Spread your toes, find some circles, and then take your circles in the other direction. And notice when you spread your toes, maybe you feel the cold air in between the toes. I love that feeling. Take an inhale, slide the knee in a little bit tighter or maybe out toward the armpit, and let your opposite leg, the left leg, the heel slide long. So you're extending, straightening out the left leg. Now your low back may or may not be happy with this. If the low back isn't happy, simply bend the knee and plant the foot again. If your low back is okay with your left leg extended long, draw the toes of the left leg up to the ceiling and push through the heel. And then notice where the crease is in the left hip. See if you can create more space in that crease. And then feel the difference between the deep extension of the left leg and the deep flexion of the right leg. One more breath in. And then slide your left heel up, plant your left foot on the ground, and put your right foot down. We'll repeat this on the other side. Left knee comes into the chest. So pause here with the right foot planted. Just let everything adjust and just find circles in the ankle of the left foot. Spread the toes. And notice when you spread the toes, you might be able to stretch the fascia of the foot. Then maybe draw the knee in a little tighter or towards the armpit and then slide right leg long. Again, that's an option. It's going to be a deeper visit to this pose, and your low back is going to tell you whether this is an option for you or not. If your right leg is long, you might imagine the space behind the right knee and pull it to the floor as you hug the right kneecap up towards the hips and hug the quad muscle to the bone of the right leg. Flex the toes back to the shin. Keep breathing. Keep that heart space open. So when we hold these poses, sometimes we hold our breath. So keep breathing here. And on your next exhale, slide the right heel in and then continue bringing the right knee into the chest. So both knees are into your chest. You're going to give yourself a hug. There's a couple ways you can do this. Grab onto the knees. You might be able to hook your lower forearms into your knees and pull your knees into your chest. You can go wide towards your armpits and move side to side, giving yourself like a little back massage here, little low back massage. And rock just a few times and then come over to whatever side feels good to you and pause and come all the way over on your sides. So your shoulder is on the ground and the outside of your leg is on the ground, and pause for a moment. And you want to exit off the ground, off your back in this way by rolling over to the side and then taking your top arm and pressing yourself up into a seated position. From here, we'll come to tabletop position. And this is where you might want to pad under your knees. And setting up tabletop, try to spread your fingers out nice and wide, like you're gripping a basketball. And you'll notice when you spread the fingers nice and wide, you begin to work the forearm a lot more rather than just dumping into the wrists. Let's move into our cat-cow pose. Cow pose first. Thinking about that heart energetic center, slightly bend the elbows and pull the hands towards the shins as you shine the heart forward through your arms and arch your back. So you might feel a little stretch on the low belly, a little length, creating some stretch on the front line of the body here. The elbows rotate back towards the shins or thighs a little bit. Not too much. Forget that cue. I don't like that one. And then pause. Start to push the fingertips away towards the front of the mat and round your back up to the ceiling. So now you're going to hide your heart, tuck it back in, and let the back of your heart open up. Let that space open up to the ceiling. From here, the arms are nice and straightened out. The tail is tucked and your eye gaze is down, maybe to your knees or to the space behind you. When we move into cow, try to inhale here, slightly bend the elbows, pull the heart space forward, lift the eye gaze, lift the tail. See if you can find that tension of drawing the hands back to the shins and pulling the heart forward, finding that stretch on the front line. Inhale here. Then exhale, press the mat away. Fingertips are pressing towards the front of the mat or the front of the room and round. Now notice if you bring your shoulders into your ears when you're round, can you still slide your shoulders away from your ears and round your back? From here, curl the toes under one more time. Bend the elbows, pull yourself into cow pose. Toes are curled under here. That'll just stretch the fascia of the feet. And then press tops of toes down. Notice as you press down in the top of the feet, you can feel the navel draw towards the spine, and you can feel that core connection between pressing down in the tops of the feet and using the core. And then come back into a neutral pose here. From neutral, send the hips back as far as it's comfortable for you and come into child's pose. In child's pose, make sure your forehead or your chin or your nose touch the mat. You're completely relaxed in the upper body and the neck. Arms are relaxed. Just let everything go in this pose and take a round or two of breath. Press the fingertips into the mat, walk the fingertips forward, pull yourself back up into your tabletop shape. Organize your tabletop shape. And we're going to bring our foot forward into a low lunge. And if you have blocks or cans or props, you might use them here. So let's take this right foot and send it forward to the outside of our hand. Remember, you can help your foot get there. And once your foot arrives, walk the foot and the hand in. And it can be helpful to elevate just a little bit and start to floss the hips. If you can't elevate the hands and you have a chair nearby, it might feel good to just put your hands on the chair. We're just going to find movement back and forth. You can still do this from the ground, and you can tent your fingers here because our weight is in our legs. Then you can find some circular motions. So start opening up the hips in this flossing motion. And then notice what's happening. So my hips are traveling in front of my knee. So I'm opening up my left hip flexor here, if my right foot's forward. And then I'm sending my hips back behind my knee, and then I'm opening up the hamstring of this front leg. You could lift the toes here. You could take this leg and stretch it a little bit further. In fact, let's do that. Let's walk the toes just a little bit further as we do this flossing motion. Good. And then we're going to come to stillness. Press to the top of the back foot and the heel here, and make that connection up the back of the legs into the hips. Draw the hips together, rise up into proposal pose. And then take your pelvis into neutral and allow this back hip, left hip to open up just a little bit, the hip flexor to open up. And then we're going to pulp the fascia in our thoracic spine. So bring your hands together, point your fingers together, shoot your fingertips forward, and let the scapula separate in the back round. You'll notice a stretch in the back body. It might be similar to the stretch that you felt in that hand mudra that we did at the beginning of practice. Separate the hands here. Pull your heart forward in space. Open up your arms. Press into the top of your back leg. Shoulder blades come together. Breathe here. Chest expansion, heart opening. Keep breathing. On your exhale, bring your hands together. Shoot. Fingertips forward, round, opening up. Back rib cage, back heart space. And then notice this area is related to our scapula. Chest expansion, separate the hands, breathe. And notice how the scapula move here. They separate as the fingertips move forward. And they come together as you expand through the chest. One more breath. And bring your hands back down to the ground. Right foot goes back. Take any little organic movements that feel good to you. So swishing your tail side to side like a big cat. Just get a little movement in the hip with that neutral back. Or you can add a little cat-cow into it, swishing the tail. Maybe just be inventive and listen to your body and listen to what feels good to you here. It's not up to me, somebody to tell you how to move. You can intuitively move. You can trust your instincts. Left foot comes forward now. Remember, wherever it lands, just get it up there next to that hand. Walk the foot and the hand in. And I forgot to cue it last time. Maybe walk the toes a little bit forward as you start to find your flossing. So hands can be on the ground. Fingertips can be on the ground. Inviting in props can really make this flossing feel better because you can lengthen through your spine. Or you can get creative with how you support yourself as you floss through the hips. And as it feels comfortable, you can send the hips more forward in front of the knee or further back behind the knee. That one feels particularly good to me this morning. As my hips go back, you can draw the toes up and be on the heel. This is okay in your knee and your toes are up. Now take your heel, pull it towards you. Notice how you get even more hamstring sensation there. Just some ways to light this up. Let's go ahead and organize to proposal pose. Foot goes down, top of the back foot presses in, feel your core connect, rise up into proposal pose. Shoot and round again. Same thing. Maybe change how you cross your thumbs, which thumb is on top, and then how your fingers crossed. Just little observations like that, patterns, things that we do over and over, patterns that we don't even recognize. Continue to breathe, shooting round, chest expansion. Now you can keep your hips right over your knees as you do this work, or you can begin to let the hips move forward with that flossing motion that we practiced. So as I shoot my fingertips forward, I could shoot my hips back. Keep breathing here. And as I expand through the chest, bring the hips forward. Good. Looking for about 3 of these here, but you guys can move at your own pace, your own speed. By the way, Diane, you can use the chat if I'm, if the feed gets interrupted, and I'll keep looking at the chat to make sure I'm going on the feed. Let's bring ourselves back down to the floor, back down to the mat, and come back to tabletop. Now there's an option for a child's pose called a puppy pose or a heart melting pose. So on this one, the hips stay right above the knees, and you can walk the hands forward and notice the heart melts into the floor. This is pretty intense on the shoulders and in the arms and the chest. But it's kind of like a child's pose, but it's an option. It's nice for people who don't like that deep bend in the knees. So coming into heart melting pose, what I'm not showing you is you want to have your forehead down. That just kind of messes up my mic. So notice what it feels like to breathe in this pose, and the intensity of the shoulders. And then to exit out, walk the hands back and press yourself back up. Let's go to a kneeling lunge one more time. So right foot comes forward. Organize, press down in the ground, so root down to rise up. Bring your hands together in front of you. So if my right foot is forward, I'm just going to peel open my left hand and start to find rotation. Right when my hand comes to my heart, pull the heart open and extend the hand back. And as you pause in this space, notice the front right knee, if it's collapsing in or if you can pull it out and away. You'll feel that stretch in your inner thigh as you draw the knee away to the outside. Let the back hand drop and return back to the forward position. We'll move a little bit more quickly. Slide the left hand along the right arm. Bring your hand into your heart. Pull your heart, your chest into that rotation. Ground through your right foot. Cinch up your hips here. Feel that root energetic center. Connect. Send the hips forward. Feel connected. And then extend through the back arm. So you're kind of squeezing your glutes together like we do in mountain pose to support this. Drop the right arm, or back arm, rear arm, left arm, and one more time. A little bit more smoothly, finding this twist, finding rotation in this thoracic spine. Big breath in, and return to your start position. Hands come down to the mat, come into your tabletop, take a little cat-cow, take some circles, these undulating circles in cat-cow. So not only am I cat-cowing, but I'm moving side to side, take it in the other direction. So that could be a nice way to just unwind the work that we just did. Come to stillness, tabletop one more time. Left foot comes forward. Ground through the left heel, top of the right foot, rise up, proposal pose. Arms come forward. This time, right hand's going to travel along the inside of the left arm. Right hand comes to the heart. Rotate the heart space open. And then extend back with the right hand. You can take your eye gaze to the side of the room, or you can look forward like a warrior pose. Rear, right hand drops, returns back to center. Draw the right hand along the left arm. Come to your heart. Rotate your chest open. And then counter that rotation with the left knee, pulling to the left, feeling the stretch in the inner thigh. Now firm your right glute and open up your right hip more as you extend back through the arm. Good. So find that full extension in the hips that we've been talking about in mountain pose. And then firm the glutes to support that extension. Keep breathing, guys, even though we're holding. Back arm drops, swings back to the beginning one more time. Draw your arm, rotate the heart, expand through the chest. Now lift your heart a little bit here. Firm your rear glute to support that lift. Lengthen through the crown of the head. Keep breathing. And return the arm back. Hands go back down to the floor. And knees come back into our start position. I'm going to do a little camel prep pose here. So tops of the feet on the ground. This time, we're on both knees. And just like in mountain pose, when we talk about taking this pitch out of our hips and send it forward, that's what we do for our camel prep. So let's see. No, I'm not going to do props. So take your hips and send them forward and then lift up and lengthen through the spine. So this heart space is lifting and shining forward. But what I want you to notice, what I'm not doing a back bend, right? See how my hips are back here? I'm starting by sending the hips forward, like I'm pushing my quads into a wall. And then my glutes are firming to support that. Hips are going forward. Then I lift and lengthen through the spine and send the heart upward. There's our camel prep. You could take your hands and just place them right in the middle of your back. So notice how much the chest is opening, and then play around with bringing shoulder blades together, bringing elbows down and toward one another. Continue to breathe. And then to exit out, draw your chin to your chest, and then come back down to the ground. Camel pose. Nice work, everybody. Good. So we talked about coming to standing through down dog. Oh, we have some options. This heart melting pose, if you keep your head up off the ground, this is a great alternative to down dog if you're not ready to add your feet into down dog. So you could go from heart melting pose to standing. The rest of us, let's come to our tabletop position, curl toes under, hover the knees, and then send the hips up into our downward facing dog. Let the head hang heavy in your down dog. So your eye gaze wants to be back behind you, looking at the wall. Draw the shoulders down and away from the ears and come to standing in whatever way you want. You can walk the hands back towards the feet. You can come back down to your knees and just stand up through a lunge. If you're in forward fold because you walked your hands back to your feet, feel the weight in your heels. Press your heels down to the ground, down to the earth as you rise up. Notice if you feel a little dizzy here from your inversion, go right back down if you do feel a little dizzy. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, arms down to the sides. So a little bit of shoulder work, a little bit more shoulder work. Elevate shoulders to ears. And then exhale down. Find that internal rotation so the palms are open. Let the hips drift forward and firm your glutes to support this hip forward in mountain pose. And then remember that torque we create in our legs by externally rotating the legs, feeling the muscles on the insides and the outsides turn on. Strong mountain pose here. And then we're going to do a little something fun with our arms. We'll bring our arms in the back just like we did in the camel. Maybe interlace our fingers. See how interlacing our fingers feels in mountain pose? Or even going to opposite elbows and drawing into opposite elbows. Notice how that changes your mountain pose, how you can move the shoulders, feel the chest open and expand. And as the chest opens and expands, make sure you don't just go into your back. So send your hips forward, draw your navel in to support that work. Our glutes and our navel, that's all part of our core, protecting our low back. If you've grabbed opposite elbows, switch and do the other side for a second. If you're at wrists, you can just switch how you grab your wrists. And then if you're here, you can just come out and go back. Spend a little bit more time in mountain pose on the other side, playing with shoulders, playing with what it feels like to open up your heart, open up your chest. Continue to breathe, always. When we hold and we're still, I want you to continue to breathe. And then release the hands here. Now I just want to play with a little activation, and our heart space is here, but we have the bottoms of the ribs right here. So I want you to feel how if you lift those ribs up, they kind of spread and separate. And then once from a spread and separated position, pull them together and down toward your hips. Feel how that core turns on there? So let's just try that a couple of times. Release and let the ribs spread. And then knit them together and pull them down. One more time. Release, let the ribs spread, and then pull them toward one another, and then pull them down toward your hips or toward your toes. So you feel how you're connected, feel that core is turned on there. I just want you to feel that in our downward dog. So let's go back down to the floor to our downward dog. For some of you, you might come to hands and knees and pop up to the downward dog. For others, you can just simply walk your hands out and find your dog. When you arrive in your downward dog, remember, let head hang heavy, press fingers wide, and then see if you can find that same activation in the upper rib. So pull the ribs together, and then down is still toward the hips, but because we're inverted, it's kind of sort of up too. So feel that connection, and then from there, draw the low belly in. So that's one way to activate the heart space in your downward facing dog. Just a couple petals here. And then lower the knees onto the ground. So they say that yoga is a practice. So there's a lot of things we can play with and fine tune in our downward facing dog. And playing around with our core and our torso and down dog and our heart space can be a fun area of inquiry. Okay, let's lower all the way down to the floor for Sphinx pose. Send your hips forward. So you're in a modified plank. So here we're in tabletop. If my hips come in front of my tabletop, I'm in a modified plank. And notice my shoulders are over my fingers a little bit. So this can be a challenging position. If it's challenging on your wrists, grip the ground more, corkscrew your arms more. So the elbows come in, shoulders pat more. That'll turn on your core. Press into the tops of your feet. Inhale here. Exhale, keep your hips high, but lower your chin and your chest down to the ground. And then come down to your belly. Now that move is a really tough move. It's a lot to unpack. So if you didn't get it today, that's okay. We can spend a whole class just on that move. But we're going to move into Sphinx pose. So draw the elbows right under the shoulders and let your arms go long like a number 11. Tops of the feet are down. Right away, notice what you feel in your low back. And in order to protect that, draw your navel into your spine to create length, and then turn on your glutes. That's going to protect the low back. And then notice when I did those things, my heart just kind of raised up, shined up. So if you feel safe and comfortable in the low back here, you can begin to take the elbows, and just like we did with our hands in cat-cow, pull the elbows towards our hips as we shine the heart space forward. And I like to kind of wiggle a little bit in this pose. As you do that, remember, belly button is pulling in, navel to spine, glutes are turned on, protecting low back. Inhale here, and exhale. Lower yourself all the way down to your belly. Bring your hands now right along your rib cage, so under your armpits, but along your rib cage. And again, elbows draw down toward the heels and then in towards the middle back. See if you can feel your back and core muscles turn on when you do that. Curl your toes under now. Draw navel to spine. Inhale here. Exhale. Elbows in towards one another. Inhale, lift your head and your chest, shoulders. Exhale, lower down. We're going to move to tabletop. So inhale, lift head, shoulders. And then exhale, press into the hands and move into your tabletop shape. Let's come down to a seated position. We're going to do one of my favorite poses called the Stargazer pose. So we'll sit with our legs wide to start, and then take one leg and bring it in so the foot is sort of in line with the thigh. And then whatever knee is bent, take that hand and bring it back behind your seat. And just like we do in a seated twist, you don't want the shoulder up in the ear, with the shoulder down and back. Point your toes, and then push and roll onto your shin bone and lift your hips. You can lift this opposite hand if you want. That'll make the lever longer. That'll make the pose more intense, or you can leave that top hand out of it. So open up your front line of your body and your hips. Keep breathing, and set your hips right back down to the floor. How'd that go, guys? Is that all right? Try that one on the other side. So take your opposite leg long. Bring your other leg in. So we're going to roll onto the shin bone. So whatever leg is bent, I take that arm, I plant it behind my seat, behind my rear glute, and the fingers are pointing away if possible. The shoulder is nice and in pack. And I'm going to draw my navel and the spine, send my hips forward, roll onto my shin bone, and lift up. This arm just adds more intensity, this top arm, so you can keep it out if you want. Keep breathing here. Nice and open in the front line, lifting your heart, and then sitting the hips right back down to the ground. Nice. Okay, 2 more poses. Bridge pose is the next one, and I'm going to cue a little bit of chest expansion in the bridge pose. So before you lay down on your back, if you let me demonstrate it for you, if you know how to open your chest in bridge pose, you don't have to wait for me, but if you want to see what I'm talking about, when we go to bridge, we'll lift the hips up in the air. And then when I want to get my shoulder blades closer to one another, so I'm going to kind of roll over to my right arm a little bit so I can scooch my left shoulder blade under. And then I'm going to scooch my right shoulder blade under. And then my left and my right, and my left and my right. And then my hands come together. And my chest is nice and expanded. So go ahead down into bridge pose if you're not there already. So knees are bent, feet are on the ground. It's important in bridge that you look up at the ceiling and you keep your neck in alignment. So even though I'm looking at the screen, I know that my weight is in the right place. I'd like for you to look at the ceiling. So first, hands go down along the side, feet into the ground, press hips up into the air, and just experience your bridge pose first. So opening up the front of the hips, firming the glutes to allow further opening. And then notice where the weight is in your back. So it should be about between your shoulder blades. You don't want your weight to be in your neck. You've gone too high up the spine if it is. If you'd like to open up the chest more, roll onto one shoulder blade and pull the other one in, and then rock back and forth as you pull your shoulder blades together and your arms work toward one another. Now they can just be on the ground. You don't have to bind them, but if you can find your fingers, you can bind the fingers. And that'll help you roll your shoulders open and broaden across your chest. Keep breathing in this pose. We're holding a lot of poses today, so we have to remember to breathe. And then to release the bind, simply let go of the hands, take the arms out and fan them out like a T, and bring your seat down to the ground. Sometimes the low back's kind of like, what went on there? So a nice counter pose is to walk the feet really wide. So maybe the heels are on the mat and not your toes. And then let the knees fall down to one side like a windshield wiper. So a little spinal twist here. Arms are out like a T. Palms can be up. Keep breathing. Then windshield wiper your knees back up to center. Let them fall in the other direction. You're still nice and broad across the shoulders. Continuing to breathe. And as you might guess, we're moving close to our Shavasana, our final relaxation. So you can take a couple more windshield wipers with the knees, if that feels good to you. Or if there's another pose that you love that I didn't cover today that you'd like to do before your final relaxation, you can try that. And then bringing knees back up. You can let the knees fall together if that feels better on the low back for your final relaxation. Or you can extend your legs long. If you liked how that prop felt under your back and how the chest felt in an expanded way under your back, you could bring that prop in one more time and play with that prop. I want to encourage you, if you do so, roll over to your side to bring yourself up to bring in that prop. It's just an idea. Maybe you play with it today, maybe you get the idea today and play with it another time. So whatever shape you've chosen to take, allow the body to relax completely. Allow the breath to become more shallow, less conscious, and less forced. Relax your jaw, pulling the tongue away from the roof of the mouth and the teeth, slightly separating lips and teeth. Relax all the muscles of your face, space in your forehead. Let your eyes get heavy. Let the space in your throat relax. The space in your heart. When we're in this little back bend, our heart is very exposed and vulnerable. And allowing the rest of the body to get heavier into the mat. We'll take a few moments of silence here. Moments of silence are challenging in a Zoom meeting because you don't know if the video is stopped. I also have a tickle in my throat. My apologies. We can exit though. Finding some wiggly movements in your fingers and your toes. And then moving that up to wrists and ankles. Keep finding movements and wiggles. And then maybe find movements in your knees, elbows. Maybe take a bigger, deeper, more conscious breath. Then slide the heels back up to the seat one more time so the knees bend. Then roll over onto your favorite side, right or left side. Pause there. Completely roll over, completely commit to the side. Maybe make a pillow for your head and your hands. Your mantra, your affirmation for the heart space is I am loved and I love. Press yourself back up to seated. We'll finish class today seated. It's always such a pleasure and an honor to have the opportunity to share this class with you in this format. I enjoy each and every one of our meetings together. Thank you so much for coming today and joining me.